y'all saw about this.
Young men and some older men, and they're all looking to you to be their CEO, to be in charge of the football team. Because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, I got depressed. I suffered depression early in COVID to the point that I couldn't even go work out. Look, he's the quarterback of America's team. And you know and I know, this sport that you play, it is dog eat dog. It is no compassion, no quarter given on the football field. If you reveal publicly any little weakness, it can affect your team's ability to believe in you in the toughest.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was pretty much condemning.
A little bit out of context, maybe, but we did see him.
He
did kind of double down.
He doubles down, like, I guess, supposedly. I guess the backstory, right, is like Dak Prescott's brother killed himself, I believe, was what the situation. I don't know if I just heard him say suicide, but I know that his brother passed away. Right. Just a couple months ago, and Dak was saying like, "Yo, I'm struggling out here with this," you know, and like I guess he was saying like he hasn't been able to perform, you know, in his role, and that obviously we heard Skip Bayless was like criticizing him for that, being like, "You got to show up, buddy. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. Like,
pull yourself
the
up. The game's
on the line, type
people
shit."
People will look at that and say, "We pay you millions of dollars.
Facts,
Pull
right?
yourself up, sir, and work out."
And I thought he was extremely out of pocket here. Like, if I'm being honest, I was like,
it seems insensitive,
bruh. Like,
seems very
what
insensitive.
the fuck are you talking about? Like, let's not forget. I was just criticizing this too. I love sports. I get what they're saying, but it's a fucking game.
Yeah.
It's a game.
It's a game.
It's not. It's of no consequence whatsoever. Like, guess what happens if you lose? You just play the fucking game again. It's not like losing your brother's life. Like, and I immediately thought, I was like, dude, if my brother died, I'll throw this fucking podcast out. Like, fuck everybody who thinks they about to see a TAID3I episode or anything. Like, if you think I'm going to show up and be like, hey, just got to do what we got to do out here. You know, we got to get it against these Bears.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, fuck.
We got to line up against the San Diego Superchargers this weekend,
We got to
boys.
put aside our own personal problems and just make sure we win. Like,
Honestly,
you got me fucked up.
if NBA players can walk off the court in a playoff game because somebody else died
way off this,
then you should be able to not go work out when your brother kills themselves.
It's wild to me that
That's
he
ridiculous.
would come out with these statements saying like he should have put this aside. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this isn't a man
I love the way
who
he
was
described the team. This is America's team, like as if the Dallas Cowboys are somehow like actually like
this isn't
more
the-
important than
this
all
isn't the
of
president of the
NFL.
United States. Okay,
Like if
This
he
is-
had been playing for the Washington, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But he's a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, like if he
Like,
was a Redskins
gives a
punter,
flying
if he was the
fuck.
punter of the team, then nobody cares. But since you're the quarterback and this is the Cowboys,
Like all these weird
it's
like
important.
yeah.
Like, I just thought it was just incredibly insensitive is
Yeah.
a great word for it. And I just didn't understand where he was coming from in the sense of like, how does this measure up? Like, how are these two things somehow correlated in importance, right? Now, we've seen other athletes through time. I mean, Michael Jordan showed up and won, I think, the championship right after his dad passed away. Kawhi Leonard, I was just watching a story behind him, and I guess his father was murdered too, and then he went and played like a game the next night. But in their words about it, it was something that was helping them cope with it, not in the sense of like detracting from it.
Who's the quarterback for Denver that won the Super Bowl after his dad died? Elway?
Manning?
Was it John Elway?
I don't think it was
John
Manning.
Elway.
I think it might have been.
No. Was he sure it was for Denver? Because I thought
It was for the
that
Denver
it was
Broncos.
Thank you, Google.
Jack Elway.
Elway.
Yeah, it was
No.
John Elway's
Yeah.
dad.
John
Yeah.
Elway, yeah.
And then heart attack, and then I guess he went.
Didn't
on to,
Tom Brady do this too? Tom Brady also played shortly after his dad
Maybe.
passed away and like won the Super Bowl or some crazy
Maybe.
shit.
So some people are willing, some people are able to use that as like.
But this is a little bit different because
into-
wasn't it? He said a few months ago, so that was right at the peak of COVID, so they weren't
Right.
even playing.
right now.
And he's just
This
saying,
offseason.
I was depressed at the beginning of COVID.
Dude, I was depressed at the beginning of COVID. And I didn't lose nobody. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
nobody
when
in my family was even
when
died.
that started off, I was like, I don't want to do shit. Like I was just talking to Mod about this the other day. I was like, dude, look, my bad, I let you down, because he wanted me to make a flick for him whenever we got back from tour, because our tour got canceled for COVID. And then I was just like, not feeling it, bro. Like, I'm about to just sit here and play video games for the next week in my pajamas. Like, I'm not doing shit, like the world's weird. I just was in a funk. So, I mean, look, I get it, and there's some times where that argument can be made, right? Sure, like, other lives are at stake, and it's like,
if he was like a platoon leader
or something like in the military, there's things where it's like your buddy dies, it's like you can't just scrap the whole mission because your friend next to you just like but you sign up for that and you understand that that's a part of that particular thing that you're doing.
That's not a game.
And it's not a fucking game, right? Yeah. Exactly. It's like that's on other life and death scenarios. The president of the United States, his brother just died recently too, and you got to still keep presidenting. I get that, but it's a fucking game, Skip. Like, come on, bro. Sit down somewhere. Like, get off.
Yeah, that's true. Skip came a little out of pocket there.
Just a little bit, man. I mean, I just can't.
Do you think it's cancelable?
I mean, okay, so I don't think I never liked the idea of, like, persuading others. Like, so I wouldn't try and convince our audience to say, hey, everybody fuck Skip Bayless, right? But definitely takes a little bit away from me. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I'm just like, oh.
That's a great point, is you make your decision on Skip Bayless. Because if you want to listen to him and enjoy some Skip and Shannon, go ahead and enjoy it. It's just like Michael Jackson's music.
And I think I only judge his digital avatar, too. So it's just like...
And his clip. I mean,
right,
that was
like, I don't think Skip Bayless is like a bad guy. I'm not like sitting here like
also,
trying to...
just because it's live doesn't mean that they're not acting.
Yeah.
Like, it might not even be his actual opinion.
It might not even be.
He might be like, yo, I was trying to get y'all's goat.
I just had to make the other side of the argument we talk about sometimes is like when you have to, present different ideas and stuff. So I get that. And, I mean, obviously this one says he doubles down on it. So he, like, even after all the criticism comes out.
This
Drip Bayless. Look at him wearing the gold chain. Drip Bayless.
You spoke about Dak opening up.
Oh, he came out fly this week.
Bro, look at
He's
black on
like,
black.
All black, like fucking, I'm the bad boy now.
He came out with the dark
chain.
Like, look. Shannon's like,
he came with that LeBron from the Heat villain energy.
He's like, good luck, buddy. Shannon's like, I'm gonna tune out for this.
I did. I want to reiterate some points I made yesterday on the show about Dak Prescott and the depression he discussed.
Yeah, let's speak about how there's a suicide.
As I strongly stated, I have great compassion for anyone suffering.
It's because FS1 has to also separate themselves from
Yeah,
Skip
I'm saying,
Bayless.
like, think about the
they're
layers.
like, hey, we are like not with this.
On 9/11, he's in the double black Satan Lucifer joint with the Drip Bayless gold. And they got the fucking, hey, think about suicide. Hey, everybody, think about, hey.
So funny. I've never seen Skip Bayless dressed like this in my entire life. He came with that full villain energy. Like, hey,
what
fuck
is
it.
real?
If I gotta be the bad guy, that's what I'm about to be.
What is real?
All right, let's see what's going on.
I have great compassion for anyone suffering clinical depression, which is very real. If you are suffering from any form of depression, please seek help. And this is the final point, one I'm told was misconstrued by many. The only Dak depression I addressed on yesterday's show was from an interview he taped with Graham Benzinger. Dak said that depression happened soon after the pandemic hit, early in the quarantine. I said yesterday that if Dak needed help for pandemic depression, he should have sought counseling then.
Victim blaming.
And again,
sure.
If you are suffering from
he decides
any form
when you're
of
supposed to
depression,
get help for it.
please seek help.
You didn't get help, then you're at fault.
But you still better show up to fucking training camp. Get that help and get your ass back to work.
What does
bitch.
that have to do with what he said the first time? Like
The
first
he
time,
was
yeah.
like, all he said the entire time in that doubling down was, if you have depression, get help.
Yeah.
And I didn't see if Dak Prescott got pandemic depression, he should have got help. And he was like trying to like separate pandemic depression from dead brother
from
depression.
suicide depression. Like, if
what
you're
are you
depressed
talking
about pandemic, you need to get over that.
Yeah,
shit.
that first
But
with
if
the
it's
tweet.
like
You play
your brother-
football, bitch.
Yeah.
You shouldn't talk about that.
Crazy. And like he's like, and if it's clinical depression, it's different. Like, oh, were you diagnosing him, or did you know, or like, what's the situation?
In the
here?
original context, isn't it somebody shared something with footage of Skip being like, "Oh, if you're depressed, like, and you can't hit the gym, like you suck it up, you're America's quarterback."
Right.
Like that stance came from not that tweet saying, "Hey, his brother died."
Yeah.
It came from him saying, "Yo, pandemic,
I was
not being able
depressed."
to work out,
Right.
depression."
Right.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
shaming him for that.
Right.
Like,
he's saying
he's-
he's saying if it's just because of the pandemic, like what he's saying is
Because I don't
if
think in the
you knew
original Skip clip they're not talking about the brother's depression or the brother's suicide.
Well, let's watch the whole thing in its entirety because I just gave y'all the hot
Now,
take.
if I get this straight,
It's very personal to a family.
Oh,
A
they
lot
are
of
talking
times
about the
people try to
brothers
keep that
passing.
under wraps.
Ooh, yeah,
like
that
it even
gets-
said
Comes
on
to
difficult
Now, if I
off
get
season
this
following the
straight,
brothers
Okay,
he
ooh.
passing.
said he went
Ooh.
through this period because of the pandemic and the quarantine
right.
before his brother committed
before.
suicide. Okay, just
And-
for the record.
Right, yes.
He didn't say he was depressed because his
No.
so
He
his
was
brother
depressed
passed away
because of,
after
as you mentioned, the
the
quarantine.
quarantine.
Yeah. So at first Dak was saying, "Look, I'm
Oh.
having problems just because of pandemic," but then after that too, his brother like passed away, and then
see.
that kind of doubled up on him. But
Yes.
But he says his brother's been dealing with things.
That's a whole nother. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm saying the reason why
whole
I
nother,
believe
like,
Dak is opening up about this is because
Okay, that's fine.
he felt
Got it.
that because his brother never opened up,
Yep.
he never came to grips with
That's
what
fair.
transpired with his mom
That is
because he was home watching what the cancer was doing to her.
Yep.
And he really never opened up about it. And Dak says, I don't want to travel down that road. I want to share with someone what's going on with me and that I wasn't in a very good place. And I think the thing is, Skip, is that him opening up about it. Because we didn't know. We just thought it was just natural causes. And I guess some people knew. Obviously, the coroner knew, but that's information that you're not getting out. And how TMZ wasn't able to get this information because they get everything. But for me, Skip, for Dak to share that information,
Shannon.
clearly that's tough.
Come
They're a
on
very
now.
close family. If I'm
How
not
did
mistaken,
TMZ
Skip,
not
it's all
break the fact
boys.
that this is a
And
suicide?
I think this was a family affair because in the commercials that you see, Dak, I think Campbell's Chunky Soup, Skip,
Yep.
is his
said
face,
they
his
put that
brothers,
shit on there.
and they do a lot of things. And here we are finally starting to do this. They couldn't. I want to do. I want to share it. I want to talk about it. I don't want to be in that dark place anymore because I can imagine, going from COVID to brother suicide. Man, Skip, that's a lot on a young man's plate.
Okay. All well said from you. All very good points.
I'm about to fuck this shit.
I'm
up.
going
about to get hot.
disqualify myself right up front on this question. I'm the wrong one to ask about this when it comes to him as the face of that franchise of America's team.
So already, before he said anything, he's already qualified it as it is
His own
my
bias.
opinion on specifically Dak Prescott being the quarterback of the Cowboys.
He's saying, "I love the Cowboys."
If it were
to the depth of
somebody
it, and
else, or he was not the Cowboys quarterback,
I'd
then
have
it
a
would
different
not
stance.
matter.
He also
But-
tries to say that the brother's suicide is a completely different
Different
thing.
thing,
He literally tries to say like, okay, I'm going to talk about depression, but
From the
only in
pandemic.
the pandemic
Yeah.
sense. The brother having his death has no. He literally
there's-
tries to curve you there.
There's,
So like,
there's varying degrees of like what's acceptable to be depressed about. Like you can be depressed about the suicide of your brother, but you can't be
I
depressed
guess
about
that's
a pandemic.
that's kind of what
right?
he's setting up as his premise. It's all a flawed premise and a bad question. And even though he's trying to qualify it as best as he can,
Yeah,
this
it's
is just
all-
ugly
it's
English.
not
It's not a good
Yeah.
stance to take on
a
this
bad look.
whatsoever.
I'm going to ask our
But-
audience to feel free to go ahead and condemn me if you choose as cold-blooded and insensitive
He's
on this
putting it in your
issue.
mind.
I have
Stop.
deep compassion for clinical depression. But when it comes to the quarterback of an NFL team, you know this as well as better than I do. It's the ultimate leadership position in sports. Am I right about that?
Sport.
You are commanding
all of
an
sports?
entire franchise.
But-
What's the roster now? Is it 53 still?
53.
I know,
but I
my
think they
thing.
got
It's
like
a great
15
leadership
right now,
position.
guys.
But you're commanding a
sports.
lot of young men and some older men. And they're all looking to
sports.
you to be their CEO, to be in charge of the football team. Because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, I got depressed. I suffered depression early in COVID to the point that I couldn't even go work out. Look, He's the quarterback of America's team.
The disappointment
and
on
you
his
know, and I know,
face. It's just
the
like,
sport that you play, it is dog eat dog. It is no compassion, no quarter given on the football field. If you reveal publicly any little weakness, it can affect your team's ability to believe in you in the toughest spots, and it definitely can encourage others on the other side to come after you. You throw an interception, you're going.
Pause. What he's saying there is the same thing from Sopranos, where they're like, you cannot be a mob boss and go see a shrink. You are showing the like when he's saying like you can't share your emotions to the public because you're the quarterback of America's team.
100%.
He is saying, right, which first of all, the qualification again is stupid as fuck, because like he would literally, he just needs to say, but then I saw his brother die and I understand and I'll shut the fuck up, because that's what I would say if I was having that hot take. But he just doubled down. It's crazy talk.
It's crazy.
Anyways,
I'm gonna separate the two depressions. They are clearly not
and
the
qualify
same thing.
them and quantity.
But even like you said too, like the idea that in order to be a good leader of your franchise and stuff, you can't talk about this
That's
stuff.
the like I said, it's the Sopranos thing.
What the fuck are you even trying to proliferate in this society right now? Like that's toxic masculinity at its finest, right there. That you're trying to say men can't have emotions about real life situations.
Football is dog eat dog.
There's no compassion out here.
No
It's
compassion.
Like,
No quarter given on the football field. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's a ridiculous amount of rules on the football field.
Yeah, and in the mafia, they would just roll up in you on a restaurant and fucking blast you in the head because you're going to see a shrink. He's unstable. I don't want him leading the fucking troops.
Bro,
You know what I'm
outside of
saying?
this specific instance, I think that the overarching conversation that I do not like continuously proliferated is exactly what he's trying to say. Is that for whatever reason, it's like, oh, well, you're a dude, so you shouldn't cry or you shouldn't ask for help, or you're a quarterback
Push
of
it to the side for the
America's
greater
team.
good.
Yeah, exactly. Like any of that shit. Like, dude, if you are anybody for any reason at any all and you need help or you're struggling out here, we have got to start normalizing the idea of being like, excuse me, I'm not okay.
Yes.
You know, like
I'm not doing well.
If anybody could help me here, like, please. And then, you know, and like you said, not shaming them or condemning them. Hey, sometimes you can't help people, and that's cool too. Like, I'm not mad at you because you didn't help or nothing, but stop like hitting on people because they're trying to raise their hand and say, like, look, I need a little bit of like time or like love or support or whatever they're fucking. This man wants to come out on a press conference and start bawling his fucking eyes out because his brother died. Like,
Yeah, I got a point I would like to say.
I get it.
I think we just need to stop using the word suicide so much. I think we could talk about these issues in very real and you know, not raw terms, but very real and substantive terms without having to be like suicide hotline. Everybody talk about suicide. You need help? Call the suicide hotline. Don't call the help hotline.
Why though?
Huh? Because suicide is like a word that, you know, it's going to go into your head and think, oh, kill myself, right? But help is more like, I'm at my final straw. I need help. I'm going crazy. I'm losing it. You know, like something like that. Like without being so...
I disagree. Like, okay, for example, when I made my joke about everybody jerks off, did that make you want to jerk off all the time?
No, but I'm saying like...
Like, you know,
I love the concept of if you need help, get help.
I think what he's trying to say is that in your example, if you had said jerk off and I was really super horny, then maybe it would have made me want to jerk off.
Like, you would think that it's equating. So, like, if you
even just saying the word suicide puts the idea in somebody's
and that's
head,
the thing that I'm going against is like the idea that they didn't already have that idea. Suicide's been around since the dawn of time. The idea that you could kill yourself is no new concept out here. Like, nobody's never like heard of that.
Yeah, but
what
he's
if on your
playing
so
on the
bringing that to
psychology
light
of advertising?
Yeah,
the same reason why McDonald's still shows
I feel that.
commercials.
I feel that.
Because
The
they
same
want
thing
you
where we
to
don't
think
like
of
to talk about
McDonald's when
shooters,
you are hungry.
you know,
Yeah, when I
shooters
walk down
and
the
stuff.
street and I see like
Occupy
a
that
suicide
brain
awareness billboard, and then I go to a business and they're all wearing like, oh, it's Suicide Awareness Month. Here's the fucking special pin or something, and they go. I'm just saying like being
A
constantly.
lot of people focusing on suicide.
Yeah, I'm just saying like being constantly hit with like, yo, let's do push-ups for veterans who do suicides. Every 22 of them die per thing, and it's like. I get
more of a glorification of suicide.
not some of them. I feel like in that particular instance, I don't have the specifics of what that did to help, but I'm saying if you're doing something to help, that's good. But is awareness always the best thing to
No,
help?
I don't
Because
always
if
think it
you're
is.
saying suicide awareness, you're saying like, hey, everybody think about
Be aware
suicide to
that
an
this is
extent.
an option out
It
here.
might be a side effect of your message, but the
Right.
message exists.
Yeah.
So
True.
for someone who is at their last string, it's like, fuck, I need help. I need a number I can call of something broadly to do with this thing. Let me just call this number. It's my last resort. What's the number you would call if you were a veteran?
Suicide hotline.
How many veterans die every fucking day? Some
That's tons.
astronomical
That's
number.
suicide. Tons.
So I'm just saying, like, it's putting it in your mindset of you're at your last string. What's the word you're thinking about? I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. It's a side effect. Maybe we just talk about, and I love how we've been talking about mental health.
I see
mental
it.
health awareness, getting your, because like when I talked to my mom about mental health, I said no one's gonna say the S word. That's like talking about jerking off in the fucking bathroom.
Right.
You don't talk about that shit. You know, it's more like, yo, we need some help. So somebody's having some bad thoughts, or my energy's not right, because you're not putting that out to the world. You're not trying to manifest it.
I hear that.
So when the world is just like suicide, even if it's suicide prevention, suicide awareness, don't do suicide, it's still
Proliferating as
I'm just saying it's out there more, so it's a side effect, and that's just, I
but
don't know if
at the
that's
same
good or
too-
bad.
well,
It's
I
just
mean,
something I've noticed as a
Sure, the word is out there, but I just don't see that as a trigger. So my point is, for me, it's like anytime we try and put things into the shadows, right, and say like, let's not talk
That's
about
true,
pedophilia
repression.
because
Yeah.
then it'll like won't encourage more people to pedophile. No, look, they're out there pedophiling.
Yeah, great
The
point.
more we bring it into the light and let people know that, like, look, you don't have to go that route. Like, you have resources out here. Like, there's there's other options. Because that's my thing, is I just don't think that, like I said, didn't nobody ever tell me, I'm just keep using jerking off as an example. 'Cause it's stuck in my head,
Everybody
but
just get
I'm
used
just
to
saying,
it. It's three averagely intelligent dudes talking about
No, we're-
The
jerking
only
off.
comparison we can make to suicide ever is
It's being
jerking
shamed into like, all right,
my
I did
point
it.
is, nobody told you, right? Nobody told you, like, you didn't get this conversation of like, hey, Johnny, did you know you just figured it out? You know what I mean? And I don't think that it was like, I never heard the word. I never I can still distinctly remember not the first time, but I remember like figuring this out. I was like, whoa, what is this that I'm going to do with my penis? You know, like, this is strange. This is a strange phenomenon.
I came with a
that I could touch it and it makes it do things that I didn't realize it could do. You know, it's like, it was like
I have an
something
action
so-
lever.
So
what is this? What is
you
this
know,
action lever?
Yeah, I think, but I get what you're saying. I do. I definitely see it as there's other ways that we can proliferate the resources without constantly promoting the idea that suicide, because it could, on the inverse side, people be like, you know what? It's cool. There's a lot of people doing it out here. This is nothing like I should be afraid of. Like, there's so many people out here committing suicide that they keep like trying to stop people.
Remember Robert Cialdini's book Influence. He talked about how when they would have large news stories covering suicides,
Right.
It's suicides that resembled that act went up every time.
True.
So like there is some sort of link between having the idea there, and that's why I was using the advertising example.
that's true.
So like there is links, but like there is like you made a good point with the pedophilia thing. Like we have to bring things to light, but also we have to be careful about how we
And I think
talk
that's what John
about
was
them.
saying.
Yeah,
and,
that brings us into the
language-
conversation of
language that we
cuties,
use.
which
I think
is-
that people I think what John is getting at here is something that maybe we can agree with, is that I feel like people are underrating semantics. Like it's a thing for a reason, and the language you use affects the way you think about stuff.
Yeah, to define it. The language you use to define it
Right.
affects how it appears
The way
in your brain.
you're going to come to conclusions about it.
It's
So-
the data you're presented
true.
with. You're presented with these letters forming this word that makes this sound in your
Right.
language.
And then that one word gives you an image. Like you know what it means.
Yeah.
Regardless of if you... So it's very fascinating. It's like I think it's just like another illustration of how hard it is to be a fucking human being.
Yeah,
Like, it's like
100%.
so...
I think it's magical
And
runes.
it's making it easier when you got Skip Bayless out here telling you you're not allowed to feel emotions and shit. It's
Yeah, like fucking
hey, dude,
put that in the
like-
can, bitch.
Yeah.
Cowboys.